Welcome back to another deep dive, everyone. You know, we love monarchies and royal figures here,
Oh, yeah.
but today's episode is going to be a bit different.
Yeah.
We're going to be heading to ancient Greece,
Yeah, we're going back in time.
and we're going to be talking about Athens
Specifically Athens.
and how this
Its
system
tyrannical
of
system.
Athenian democracy came to be.
Yeah, it completely challenged the idea of monarchy.
They were on its head.
It really did.
So,
It's fascinating to think about
yeah,
how the evolution of power in ancient Greece really set the stage for
everything,
a lot of Western civilization.
especially European politics and culture.
Yeah, the ripples are still felt today.
Yeah. So, okay, let's rewind the clock.
Okay.
Way back to around 800 BCE.
All right.
Forget what you think you know about a unified Greece.
Yeah.
Because at this point, it was a bunch of independent city-states.
Each with their own identity,
They had their own laws.
their own customs.
They had their own everything.
It's kind of like,
Many kingdoms,
yeah, you could think of them as mini kingdoms.
all competing for power.
Yeah, and influence.
It's really interesting because there are some parallels
Oh, yeah.
between these Greek city-states and the feudal states
During the spring and autumn period?
in China.
Yeah, in China.
But there's a key difference.
Yes.
The Greek city-states didn't rise through conquest.
Like in China.
It was more about isolation.
Geographic isolation.
Yeah, and that makes sense when you think about the geography of Greece.
Very mountainous.
Mountainous terrain,
Islands
islands scattered
are
everywhere.
spread out.
Conquering and controlling that.
Nightmare.
Yeah, it would have been a logistical nightmare.
So it naturally led to these independent city-states coexisting,
With their own little flavor.
each one unique.
But there was one common thread
Unfortunately.
across most of them.
Slavery.
Slavery. Yeah, and this is important
Very important.
because it shaped their social structures.
And who held power?
It really did.
Yeah.
So not exactly the egalitarian paradise
No.
that we might associate with Athens later on.
Not quite.
But it's fascinating to think about
Yeah.
how even the word politics
Yes.
comes from this system of city-states.
From the Greek politica.
Right.
The affairs of the city-state.
The affairs of the city-state.
Yeah.
I love those little connections to the present.
Me too.
It's like
It's should.
ancient systems are still influencing us.
They really are.
Okay, so we've got these independent,
Isolated.
often isolated city-states.
Doing their own thing.
What was life actually like inside one of these?
These mini kingdoms.
Yeah.
Well, imagine a bustling city,
Okay.
usually with 4 key elements.
All right, ready.
The Acropolis,
Okay.
the Agora temples.
Mm-hmm.
And
Here comes the Gymnasium.
Yeah. Okay, I know the Acropolis.
Okay.
It's like the fortified hilltop,
Yeah,
safety first.
exactly. You got to protect yourself from invaders.
When those invaders come knocking,
Right,
with the Agora.
The Agora was the heart of the city.
Right.
The marketplace.
The marketplace, the social hub,
Debate.
Plus-
Do business.
all of it.
I feel like there would have been a lot of gossip
Oh, I'm sure.
in the Agora.
Yeah.
Temples, obviously, for religious life.
Very important.
Important back then.
Absolutely.
But the Gymnasium.
This is where it gets interesting.
All right, tell me more.
So picture this.
Okay.
The Gymnasium wasn't just a place for physical training.
Okay.
It was also a public bathhouse.
Okay.
And get this,
What?
a space for intellectual discussions.
Oh.
But here's the kicker.
Okay.
It was exclusively for male citizens,
Okay.
and everything was done in the nude.
Wait,
Yes.
they were exercising.
Yes.
Bathing.
Yes.
Having deep philosophical conversations.
All in the buff.
All in the buff.
The word gymnasium literally means place of nakedness.
Wow, that's wild.
It is.
What was the reasoning behind that?
Well, there are different interpretations. Some scholars suggest that this openness might have contributed to certain practices like pederasty,
Which?
which was considered socially acceptable back then.
Yeah, very different time.
Very different time.
Different values and perceptions.
Absolutely.
So we have all these city-states doing their own thing,
Right.
but two really stand out.
Yes.
Athens and Sparta,
2 big ones.
and I think it's safe to say they were playing very different games when it came to power.
Oh, yeah. Completely different approaches.
So let's start with Athens,
Okay.
the birthplace of democracy.
Yes.
But fun fact,
All right, hit me.
Athens wasn't always a democratic haven.
It wasn't.
No.
Oh.
Legend has it
Okay.
that the city's founder
Yes.
was a creature named Cecrops,
sea crops.
half man, half serpent.
Half man, half serpent.
Wow.
Talk about an origin story.
That's a good one.
And then there's the goddess Athena herself,
Right.
the city's namesake,
Yes.
Who won the city in a contest against Poseidon,
Poseidon.
the god of the sea. Wow, so even with divine intervention.
They still had their struggles early on.
What kind of struggles?
Well, the story of Theseus and the Minotaur comes to mind.
Oh, yeah, a
Classic tale of courage and fighting for independence.
Tell me more.
So Athens was under the thumb of the Minoans on the island of Crete.
Yes.
They had to send these young Athenians as sacrifices
Oh, no.
to this terrifying creature.
The Minotaur.
The Minotaur.
A labyrinth.
Who lived in a labyrinth.
Right.
Theseus, this brave Athenian prince,
Yes.
volunteers to be one of the sacrifices.
Oh, wow.
He goes into the labyrinth.
He does.
Slays the Minotaur.
He slays the Minotaur.
And frees Athens from Minoan rule.
What a hero.
What a power move.
It is.
At this point, we're still in the realm of monarchy, right?
Yes.
Athens, like many other city-states, was ruled by a king.
By a king.
But that was about to change with a remarkable act of self-sacrifice.
Okay.
Enter King Kodrus,
King Kodrus.
the king who gave his life to save Athens from the Dorians.
Wow, that's a story.
It is a story.
Tell me.
So the oracle prophesied
Okay.
that the Dorians
Yes.
would conquer Athens.
Uh-oh.
Only if they didn't kill King Kodrus.
Okay.
So what does Kodrus do?
What does he do?
He disguises himself as a peasant,
He does?
sneaks into the Dorian camp,
Oh, no.
and deliberately provokes them into killing him.
Oh, wow.
Talk about putting your people first.
That's incredible.
And this is the turning point.
Yes.
This is what leads to the end of monarchy in Athens.
They abolished it altogether.
The Athenians were so moved by Kodrus' sacrifice
I can imagine.
that they decided no one could ever live up to his example.
Wow.
So they shifted towards a system of collective rule.
Collective rule.
Yeah. And it's interesting because around the same time,
Yes.
over in China,
Okay.
the Zhou dynasty was establishing its feudal system.
With the emperor at the top.
Very different approaches to power.
Very different.
But, okay, no more kings in Athens.
Right.
Did they just magically become a democracy overnight?
I don't think so, no. It was a process.
It was a journey.
With many twists and turns.
Twists and turns.
And they needed someone to lead, so
Mhm.
they created the position of Archon,
Archon.
an elected governor.
Okay, so still a single leader,
Yes.
but chosen by the people.
Or at least some of the people.
Right.
This Archon system was formalized during the time of Kodrus's grandson,
His grandson.
Archias.
Okay, Archias.
But as you might imagine, not everyone was happy with this new system.
I can imagine there were some growing pains.
There were some.
What were the main sources of tension?
Well, after the abolishment of the monarchy,
Yeah.
the common people, those who weren't part of the elite,
Mm-hmm.
hoped for more equality and a say in how things were run.
Right.
But the reality was that the nobility still held most of the power and influence.
Of course.
And this simmering resentment
Yeah.
eventually led to some serious unrest and even attempts to seize power.
Is this where we hear about Solon?
Solon, yes.
The ambitious merchant?
He tried to stage a coup.
Yeah.
Solon's failed attempt to take over Athens really shook things up.
It showed the ruling class
The aristocracy.
that they needed to make some changes
They needed to.
if they wanted to avoid further upheaval.
And chaos.
So change was coming,
It was.
whether they liked it or not.
Whether they liked it or not.
But I have a feeling those changes.
Weren't exactly welcomed with open arms.
Oh.
Their solution was to appoint Draco, a lawmaker
Yeah.
known for his
Let's just say.
extremely harsh
Very harsh.
approach to justice.
His laws were so severe. They were said to be written in blood,
Not ink.
not ink.
We're talking death penalty for seemingly minor offenses.
Oh, death for stealing a loaf of bread.
Yeah,
That's intense.
very intense.
No wonder his laws weren't a hit with the people.
They created even more tension and dissatisfaction.
Among both the nobility and the common people?
They needed someone to come in and smooth things over.
Right.
Someone with a vision for a more balanced and just system.
Enter Solon.
Solon the reformer.
So we're going to talk about Solon.
We are.
But first,
Yes.
we need to take a quick break.
Okay.
Don't go anywhere.
We'll be right back.
We'll be back in a flash to continue our deep dive into ancient Greece.
Stay tuned. Athens was in a tough spot.
Draco's laws had left everyone unhappy.
Nobody liked them.
They needed someone to come in and just fix it.
And that's where Solon comes in. A poet,
A philosopher.
a skilled politician.
It sounds like he was a busy guy.
He understood that Athens needed a fundamental shift.
So he wasn't messing around.
Not at all.
What were some of his key moves?
Well, first he tackled the economy.
Okay.
Debt was a huge problem.
It always is.
It really was.
Leading to poverty.
And even slavery.
So he just canceled all debts.
He did.
And abolished debt slavery.
Just like that.
That must have made some people furious.
It ruffled some feathers among the elite.
I bet.
But Solon saw it as a necessary step.
To balance things out.
Exactly.
What else did he do?
He implemented reforms to encourage trade and economic growth.
Okay, so stimulating the economy.
Yes, he reformed the currency and measurement systems.
Makes sense.
And he granted citizenship to foreign craftsmen,
So attracting new talent.
bringing in those skills.
Smart.
He was a smart guy.
But what about the political side of things?
Well, Solon knew the common people wanted a voice.
As they should.
So he divided Athenian citizens into 4 classes.
Based on wealth.
Based on wealth.
Okay.
It wasn't perfect,
Right.
but it allowed for some participation from all levels.
So the wealthy could hold high office,
Yes,
but the lower classes could participate in the assembly and serve on juries.
exactly.
So a step towards giving more people a stake in government.
It was a step.
But were Solon's reforms enough?
Well, they were groundbreaking for their time,
Yeah.
but they weren't a cure-all.
Right.
Inequalities persisted. The struggle for power continued.
Of course.
After so long,
Yes.
Athens went through a period of turmoil,
Oh, no.
and we see the rise of Paisostratus.
Paisostratus.
You could call him a benevolent tyrant.
Tired.
Now, when we say tyrant
Yep.
in ancient Greece,
Yeah.
it doesn't always mean a cruel or oppressive ruler.
Okay.
It often refers to someone who seized power
Right.
by unorthodox means
Okay.
outside the traditional system.
So Paisostratus,
Yes,
while he ruled with a firm hand,
he did,
was actually pretty popular.
especially with the common people.
What made him so popular?
He was a shrewd politician.
Okay.
He understood the needs of the common Athenians.
Right.
He implemented policies that benefited the poor,
Okay.
invested in infrastructure projects, promoted cultural development.
So despite his authoritarian leanings,
You can say that.
he was laying the groundwork for a more prosperous
And inclusive,
Athens.
in a way, yes.
Athenian politics were anything but boring.
They were full of drama and intrigue.
So we're still on the road to democracy.
We are.
And the next chapter in this Athenian saga,
Is a crucial one.
okay?
Enter Klaisthenes.
Lice.
His reforms will truly revolutionize Athenian politics.
Right, I'm ready for this.
We need to remember, Athenian society was still divided.
Okay.
Power was concentrated in the hands of a few.
Right.
Klaisthenes saw this as a fundamental problem.
He wasn't looking for a quick fix.
No, he wanted to change the fabric of Athenian society.
And he did just that.
He did in 508 BCE.
This is where things get interesting.
Yeah, this is where Athenian democracy is born.
What did these reforms look like?
Well, first he expanded the council.
The main governing body.
Yes, from 400 to 500 members.
Okay. More voices.
More representation.
What else?
He introduced random selection
Random
for
selection.
many government positions.
So your name could be drawn from a lot.
And you're suddenly in charge.
Wow.
It was a way to ensure that all citizens
Regardless of wealth or background.
could participate.
But what about those who might abuse their power?
Well, Klaisthenes had a solution for that too.
Okay, what is it?
Ostracism. Ostracism. Citizens could vote to exile
To exile.
individuals they deemed a threat.
Wow.
It was a way to keep ambitious individuals in check.
Checks and balances.
You could say that.
So if someone got too powerful,
Or acted against the interests of the people.
they could be banished.
They could.
That's fascinating.
It was a way to protect the democracy from tyranny.
Klaisthenes was a visionary.
He was,
His reforms really marked the beginning of Athenian democracy.
as we know it.
It's worth noting that Athenian democracy wasn't perfect.
It wasn't.
It had its flaws.
It did.
But Klaisthenes' reforms were a pivotal moment.
A pivotal moment.
So we've traced this journey
This incredible journey.
from monarchy to democracy in Athens.
With all of its twists and turns.
What was happening elsewhere in the world during this time?
Well, if we compare Athens to China,
Okay.
we see a stark contrast. While Athens was expanding power to the middle and lower classes,
Mhm.
China was centralizing power
Under the monarchy.
under the monarchy.
It's amazing how different cultures came up with such different solutions.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Well, their goals and challenges were very different.
Okay.
Athens.
With its diverse population.
An history of social unrest.
They needed to find a system that worked for everyone.
A system that would bring stability
Right.
and give everyone a stake.
On the other hand,
China,
faced external threats
they needed a strong, centralized authority
to maintain order.
and defend its borders.
So different circumstances.
led to different solutions.
It makes you wonder how much geography and economics play a role.
It's a crucial factor.
Athenian democracy shaped by its geography.
Scattered islands
Trade-based economy.
emphasized freedom and equality.
China, on the other hand,
Agricultural focus
need to defend vast territories.
led to a more centralized system,
It's amazing to see how these ancient systems
born out of specific needs.
went on to have such a lasting impact.
It makes you think,
If geography and economics played such a crucial role,
how do those factors influence our systems today?
that's a question worth pondering. All right, we're back for the final leg of our Athenian adventure.
It's been a journey.
From serpent kings to exiled politicians.
The evolution of power is rarely a straight line.
No, it's messy. It's unpredictable.
Twists and turns.
It's like a winding path.
With detours.
And that's what makes history so fascinating.
It really is.
It's not just about dates and names.
It's about the ideas.
It's about understanding these complex systems.
And how they still shape our world.
Athenian democracy,
Yeah.
despite its limitations,
That had its flaws.
offered a model of citizen participation
Self-governance.
that has resonated through the centuries.
It's inspired so many.
Thinkers during the Renaissance,
The Enlightenment.
even the American Revolution.
It's amazing how these ideas
From a small city-state thousands of years ago.
could have such a far-reaching impact.
What about those contrasting systems?
Like in China.
Did their focus on stability
And centralized authority.
also leave a lasting legacy?
Oh, definitely.
China's model of governance
With its focus on order and hierarchy,
influence its neighbors
shaped the political landscape of East Asia.
for centuries.
For centuries.
It's not about saying one system is better.
No.
It's about recognizing
Different circumstances.
different challenges
Different solutions.
as we navigate our own complex world.
The complexities of power,
Participation,
social justice,
these ancient systems,
offer valuable lessons.
and perspective
It's a reminder.
that there's no one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
The quest for a just and equitable society,
It's an ongoing process.
a constant evolution of ideas,
And systems
sometimes the most profound changes,
come from those who challenge the status quo,
those who dare to imagine a different future,
like those Athenian reformers.
who dared to imagine a world without kings.
Exactly.
Well, that's all the time we have for today.
I've enjoyed this deep dive.
I have few.
It's been fascinating.
For all you history buffs out there,
Keep exploring
keep questioning
and never stop being amazed
by the power of ideas.
to shape our world.
Until next time.
Happy history hunting.